Okay, so over to you, Dave.
Welcome everybody to our Mentor Monday today. Here we are, October 20th, and today's a special Mentor Monday. We call this our Medical Mentor Monday, where we invite some practitioners to join in and to discuss a bit about for life, transfer factor, science, where we can all learn. I always say that this is a business of contribution. We all have something to contribute, and I always find it just wonderful and very informative when we get people that come to our meetings that just have a wealth of knowledge and information that we can all learn from. So we'll be hearing today from some great people. But before I introduce them, I just want to share with you all a little bit of history on transfer factor. For Life is known as the immune system company. We were coined with that phrase back in 1998. But really, it began much before then. It was 1972 when Dr. Wilson and Dr. Paddock secured a patent to something called transfer factor. And this patent involved the technology of isolating, extracting this particular molecule or peptide from a specific source. At the time, it was through colostrum. And they maintained its bioactivity, so it's an active peptide. And they secured this patent. Well, David Lisenby had been researching back in the late 70s and into the 80s on immunity, immune knowledge, and he came across this patent of transfer factor that Wilson and Paddock had secured. Well, he realized that nothing was being done with this patent. And so David Lisenby approached them, and he secured the licensing rights to transfer factor. Well, when he did that, that means he had exclusivity. Nobody could get their transfer factor through Wilson and Paddock anymore. And at the time, there were a few doctors that were actually using transfer factor, and they were getting it from Wilson and Paddock. And that's really all that was happening, with the patent. There wasn't anything really big happening. Well, one of those doctors was Dr. Dwayne Townsend. He's an oncologist, a world-renowned oncologist, well known for his patents on cryosurgery, which is the freezing of the uterus to operate on female cancer patients. So Dr. Townsend was using transfer factor on his patients at the time. Well, then there's Dr. Rob Robertson, an emergency medical practitioner that was seeing over 5,000 patients a year. He was trying to secure the rights to transfer factor. Well, he lost. David Lisenby, our CEO and founder of For Life, he won. And so Dr. Robertson said, hey, if I can't beat him, I'll join him. And he joined David Lisenby. So really the first person to really get started with us was Dr. Robertson, then Dr. Dwayne Townsend, the oncologist, and then next came Dr. David Markowitz, pediatrician. And he had been using transfer factors and was able to actually lower the usage of children by over 80, I believe 83%. He was able to lower the usage of antibiotics on his patients, the children. So I just love the fact that the very first people involved with For Life come from that medical community. These are not, just like multi-level marketers, they're doctors. And I feel very fortunate because when I got started in 1998, I learned a lot from these doctors by listening to them. They would join in some of the calls, and they just come, with a wealth of knowledge, and everything they do is based on data, on science. So today we have three special guests, and we're going to have the opportunity to listen to them. The first guest that we have, who's actually going to share a bit about immunology, is Dr. Robert Ojina. But before we get to Dr. Robert Ojina, I just want to pass it to my co-host for a minute here, Jillian, who's going to kind of help set the stage as well. So we're very fortunate to have Jillian with us. Jillian, I'll pass the mic to you.
Thank you. 1 second. Hello, everybody. My name is Jillian. I'm the CEO of Feel Good, Share Good. It's an honor to co-host this event today. This is a really important discussion, and I want to explain why. The more as a mother, as I worry about my children. I worry about the future of our health, and this, having gone through some confusing time in my life where I wasn't quite sure which direction I needed to go to for health reasons. I feel obligated to now share what I know. So this is the reason why I created the Feel Good Share Good platform, which is an opportunity of basically an umbrella of communities where we educate or give people the option to learn all, the original ways of healing. Everybody says alternative ways of healing, but I would like to have a forum or a discussion on what options you may have that might work for you. If it works for you, great, but we need to have a platform where we can have those discussions. So I did a little bit of research about some of the stats about immune health, and something that, and again, this does truly sit to my heart, and it's one of the reasons why I did align myself with this company. So today we're discussing immunology, and Dr. Ojina is going to explain what that means for everybody out there. And but what concerns me and the challenges that we face right now is that we do have an autoimmune epidemic. I remember being diagnosed with too many autoimmune diseases to like even tell you right now, but right now there are over 80 conditions, probably more so out there that we don't even know, now linked to immune dysfunction. And chronic fatigue and post-viral syndromes are on the rise. And Dr. Ojina, I know, just recently did a training on this and educating people on why we're going through so much of these really strange, and rise of autoimmune diseases now are up like 300% in the last 30 years. And did you know 1 in 10 people worldwide have an autoimmune disorder? Why is that? Like, what can we do to change that? And this is one of the reasons why we're here today to discuss that there are options. There are some avenues that you can explore, not only for your health, but for your family's health as well. So this is why I think it's a great opportunity for you to stay on this call, come to some of our conversations that we have, global conversations, by the way. And I'm really excited that our practitioners are coming from all over the world. I myself am in St. Martin, Caribbean. I'd love for you guys to tell us, and on the chat, we're live right now on Upline Pro Facebook page. You can go there and tell everybody where you're from. The fact that we're able to support each other globally is amazing. I live in an island in St. Martin, French Caribbean, and this is where I'm talking to you from. Dave's in San Diego, California. Our guests are coming from Kenya, from South Africa, from Martha's Vineyard retreats. There's so much opportunity to learn from each other, and now's the time to share. So on that note, Dave, do you want to introduce again our next guest? Which I believe is Dr. Ojina. You have a lot of history with Dr. Ojina, and I'd love for you to highlight, his background.
Yeah, Dr. Ojina and I, we met a few years back in Nairobi, Kenya, at the Intercontinental Hotel, to be exact. Well, that's where we talked. We had our first discussion. We actually met at the For Life LP Center office in Nairobi. And Dr. Ojina comes from a medical background. He studied in the UK, epidemiologist, also a specialist on immunology and autoimmunity. And he was very attracted to transfer factor. Again, as I mentioned earlier, coming from a medical background. And so it was just a wonderful opportunity that I had when I was in Kenya to travel with Dr. Ojina. We went out to his hometown, Nakuru. I went to the Nakuru National Park, and we just spent a day just talking and getting to know each other. And so it's just been a fascinating journey together. We're very fortunate, very blessed to have Dr. Ojina as part of our For Life family. He's actively sharing transfer factor and For Life products to everybody throughout Kenya and all of Africa and even other parts of the world. So with that, we'll pass the microphone over to our first special guest, Dr. Robert Ojina from Nairobi, Kenya. Doctor, the microphone's yours.
Thank you very much, Dave, and thank you, everyone. What you didn't add there, I know you mentioned my medical background, and you also mentioned my background in public health in epidemiology. I also need to let you know that my other specialization is clinical nutrition. Again, that's my second postgraduate qualification. So whenever I talk about health, I am broad in it. In fact, one of my colleagues was saying, you need to find a way of how to use the most down-to-earth, language as possible. He thought my presentations are usually very technical, and I promised to use the most down-to-earth language as much as possible. But if there is any question that requires technical explanation, I am right here and willing to help anybody get the information. So very, very quickly, I just want to, in a basic language, tell the audience what the immune system is, and then maybe also explain the meaning of the word immunology, so it doesn't just appear as immunology. And I'll also explain the difference between immunology and immunotherapy. Then very briefly, what transfer factors are and why transfer factors are actually immunotherapy products. So people understand the relationship between the transfer factor molecule and immunotherapy. And then lastly, just very, very quickly, why is especially for life transfer factor? Because again, that's something which is important to mention. So the immune system here, when we talk about the immune system, we are referring to very, very briefly the body's defense army that protects you from pathogens, that protects you from substances that can harm you, e.g. Things like pollutants, abnormal cells in the body, and substances that can threaten you. So all that, the system that works on defending it is called the immune system. And the immune system comes in many formats. First we have, your skin as it is an immune system on its own because it, protects substances from coming into the body. So the mucous membrane, those protect you. So you see all the open orifices in the body, the nostrils, the eyes, the genitalia, etc. They have some hair, some mucus to prevent or to attach substances which are likely to get into your body and cause infection. But in case any of those substances gets their way into your body, so we have the first line of attack that addresses and attacks them without going into any technical explanation. They are warriors that are just ready to attack anything. So they go around and eat if they're pathogens, they go around and sweep, or they go out and poison. And in the process, if they are overwhelmed, they call for a bigger army, which is called the adaptive now, the adaptive immunity. So those ones now learn, they take time and learn the enemy very, very nicely. And then they activate themselves. Okay, so what is activated are actually called lymphocytes. So they activate themselves, and then they release either antibodies to run around the blood system, or they release helper T cells, which attack the pathogen, or they release cytotoxin cells, which actually go and destroy the offending cells. So that way, the next stage will involve elimination of those substances, and then finally, memory formation takes place, where the B and the T cells now will remember that threat, and next time when it comes again, they'll be able to attack it effectively. So that's generally how that immune system works in brief. All right, and so when we finish that, let's understand what the word immunology is. The word immunology can be confusing, But the word immunology generally is a branch of biomedical science that studies the immune system. So it's a biomedical science that studies the immune system. So what does it study? It will study the innate immunity. In other words, the primitive immunity is under immunology. It will study the adaptive immunity, which is the special immunity. Immunology will also study autoimmunity. That is how your immune cells can attack your own cells and weaken you and make you sick. Immunology will also study what we call immune deficiency, how your own immune system will become weak and unable to protect you. It will also study allergies and hypersensitivity, which means your body may be reacting to substances which generally should be considered harmless. And then finally, it will study what is called immunotherapy. Now that I've mentioned the word immunotherapy, maybe it is important for me to give you a basic explanation of what the word immunotherapy is. And the word immunotherapy is, generally speaking, a medical treatment. It's a medical treatment that uses or modifies the immune system to get you back to normalcy. For example, we can talk about in a medical setup, we have monoclonal antibodies. These are, antibodies that are manufactured in the laboratory, and we can inject them into your body. We have immune checkpoint inhibitors, which can also be injected into your body to stop or make the immune system not turn off and be able to see a threat when they come. Immunotherapy also involves things like the cancer vaccines. Those fall under immunotherapy because the cancer vaccines are developed to stimulate the immune system, okay, to help fight cancer. The latest ones, we have what we call the adaptive cell therapy, where we're able to take cells from your own body and then redevelop them, remodify them in a laboratory, and then return them back in your body to help them fight your disease. We could as well use cytokine therapies, where the immune system, these are the immune system signaling molecules, where we can take interleukins, interferons. Again, those ones, we can utilize them to help you fight disease. So that generally is immune therapy. Part of it, of late, they've developed certain viruses that can be injected in your body to help even kill cancers. That is still immunotherapy. Now, coming to the word transfer factors, these transfer factors generally are peptides. Peptides are short-chain amino acids, and their main role generally is to carry immune memory. So the main role is to carry immune memory, okay? So what happens, if you have to explain in basic terms how this would work, is that there's a donor, and a donor system has already learned how to fight and how to respond to a pathogen. Then the transfer factor is extracted from the donor and given to a recipient. All right, so what happens is that that molecule, the transfer factor, will now transfer immune intelligence from the donor to the receptor. Very simple science. So with that, how does transfer factor qualify to be an immunotherapy product? It's very simple. Now, just like in immunotherapy, transfer factors have the ability to modify or to enhance the immune activity, all right? And just like transfer factors, just like in immunotherapy, transfer factors, they can improve immune recognition of the disease. Again, just like in conventional immunotherapy, transfer factors, they work through immune modulation rather than directly kill the pathogen or directly kill the cancer. So with that broad definition, transfer factors therefore qualify to become immune therapy products. And why is this very important? It's very, very important because we see, for example, today, cancers are very, very common. I read one statistic from the US I got a classmate who is working in Seattle in the US. So he tells me they register about 1,700 to 2,000 deaths from cancer every single day. Now, that's a very big number. It's important to understand that, about 20 to 30% of all cancers come from infections. For example, infection by human papillomavirus. That is the cancer, the virus that is responsible for, say, cervical cancer. Hepatitis B virus is a pathogen that's responsible for hepatocellular cancer. We also have something like the Epstein-Barr virus that we know is responsible for Hodgkin's lymphoma. But it can also bring about nasopharyngeal lymphomas, even Burkitt's lymphomas. These are cancers that have relationship with Epstein-Barr virus. Something like the human herpes virus, that again is responsible for things like a number of lymphomas, cancers which affect the blood system. The human herpes virus is very, very dangerous, and it stays in the blood system for a very long time. If it is not controlled, then we get into this kind of trouble. The HIV, the human immunodeficiency virus, is responsible for things like the Kaposi sarcoma cancers. Again, when the immune system is not strong, is not well modulated, then again, it will bring the body down, and then cancers will come. Even something in the stomach, like the Helicobacter pylori, the H. pylori, which again is highly associated with the gastric cancers. So you can see infections are very, very relevant in terms of fighting infection is very, very relevant in terms of preventing serious diseases like cancers. Okay, so the transfer factor molecule, which helps the body to recognize, to enhance its, meaning improving its immune system strength and helping the immune system to become educated so that it can recognize threats more easily, attack threats more efficiently, and also be able to remember the threats, is key here in helping the body manage infections. Remember, I just told you the immune system goes around detecting foreign substances which are likely to cause trouble in the body. So when the immune system is strong enough, what it means is that your body is now capable of dealing with these viruses or these pathogens or these bacteria which can cause disease. So in the broad definition of transfer factor, yes, it's an immunotherapy product. Why is that so? Because the immune system modulation happens when you take transfer factor. And when it comes to infection resistance, we realize that whenever we give transfer factors, or I personally, in my experience, I notice fewer respiratory infections from persons who are giving transfer factors. When it comes to children, pediatrics, and I love handling children, there is lesser recurrence of tonsillitis, lesser recurrence of bronchitis, lesser recurrence of diarrheas. All this happen when children take the transfer factor molecule. And then when it comes to allergies and autoimmune regulation, I give transfer factor to reduce allergy symptoms. In fact, things like asthma, eczema, etc. And how does transfer factor work on it? Transfer factor will work on these complications by shifting immune balance, okay? It can also support in chronic diseases, and I've used it a lot in cases of hepatitis, cases of herpes, cases of shingles, and that happens because, it's able to modulate the immune system. Even in serious cases like cancers, transfer factors play a role, and we've used it big time. And the reason transfer factors are useful in cancers is because it stimulates the cytotoxic T cells and the natural killer cells, which kill the cancer cells, and it also enhances immune surveillance. So the body can easily notice and identify the cancer cell. So in finishing, generally, the reason I love transfer factors for life is because of the scientific evidence. I have gone through a number of publications, and I have read quite a number of publications in peer reviewed journal, which are, double-blinded, kind of research that have been done on mouse, on humans, clinical trials on humans, and with the different diseases, clinical trials on toxicity. I have gone through all these publications, and I keep them very, very close in case somebody wants to see why I believe so deeply in this. Another thing is that, the transfer factor from 4Life is a proprietary and processing patented. Okay, so in other words, the formula is also protected, and 4Life is the only one that can use the formula they use to get it. Then the formula is broader. In other words, you can get especially the transfer factor plus, where it has additional ingredients added onto it. The IP6, one of the most powerful immune boosters known in the world. Shiitake mushrooms, maitake mushrooms, Agacia Brazil, the olive leaf extracts, the aloe, all these put together, including zinc. These ones give a proper boost to the immune system. In fact, they work sometimes much better, though I'm not supposed to say this as a medical practitioner, but I get better results when people use this than when they use chemo drugs. That's my personal experience, so I can stand by that in case I am questioned. And I've done that to a number of patients. I have patients who have refused chemo and, come to me for alternative methods of management. And I tell them, this is it. Now dose yourself in this molecule and then tell me how you feel. And the results have been amazing. I've kept good records on this and good data because it helps me with my research. And again, because, we are in a field where we are monitored so closely by the regulators. So I must have proper record and data to show the authorities when they come in why I use the product to manage this type of conditions. Transfer factors from 4Life are also listed in the PDR, which is a very, very reputable book, which has information on drugs, their technical information, molecular structure, contraindications, etc. And it just means that, apart from the fact that the company is reputable, the product itself is reputable, and it means it gets recognition from the medical fraternity. Then 4Life has a more wider product range for me, with over 25 years of experience in doing what they do best. They have independent laboratory tests for this product. And at the same time, they have their own in-house laboratory where they test the quality of these products and make it become of very, very high quality that would be useful. And that is why it's even used in public hospitals generally worldwide. So I personally use it, one, to treat, and I use the word to treat. This is not a word I should use in relation to FDA, but I can defend why I use it to treat. And I also use this as an adjunct therapy. Adjunct therapy, meaning I use it to boost effectiveness, to reduce side effects of medications, to speed recovery, even to improve the quality of life of individuals who are using this. So the transfer factor, especially the transfer factor plus, is a health product, and it has antioxidant defense, again, at the same time, cellular protection. So I urge everyone to take a look at this product. Those who love the science, they can take a look at the publication. So thank you, Dave, for giving me an opportunity to share this. If there is any question, I'll be willing to answer. Thank you.
Okay, now everybody out there in, social media land understands why we love listening to Dr. Ojina. I have so much respect for this individual, this professional. And I love that you, Dr. Ojina, you do the, Tuesdays health talks during the day for those in North America, but I know it's in the evening in Kenya. So this is one of the things that, that I love about our community is that you offer weekly trainings on specific health conditions that are prevalent to your practice. And they're so informative. And this is one of the reasons why, if you're not part of our community, join our community. We'll tell you how to do that at the end of the show. But this is how I've learned so much about all the stuff I've gone through in my life and been able to have practical solutions that I never knew were there based on your teaching and trainings. I know you have a lot of people on this call right now that love you and appreciate you and are just thankful for your commitment to what you do each and every day in your life. So thank you, Dr. Ojina, for today. And on that note, I'm going to introduce another favorite practitioner and health provider that, I love dearly. She knows this. She's like my sister from another mister, I call her. And but she has been very influential in my health journey. So, and one of the things that she does each and every day is help people overcome chronic conditions. And as an extra benefit, they do actually, in a lot of cases, they do lose weight. In some cases, they do because it's, you're shedding out things in your system that your body doesn't need. So by feeding your body, by giving the nutrients, and then releasing the toxins, your body is in a better state to receive what is needed to make your cells healthy. And that's one of the reasons why we're talking today about detoxing before you defend. So Dr. Roni DeLuz is also a medical practitioner. She is actually located in Martha's Vineyard. I was fortunate to go to a retreat. And unfortunately today, people aren't coming to your retreat anymore right now, specifically just to lose weight or, to look good for a movie that they're, going to be having, or, those elites or politicians showing up to actually look good to get on stage. Now they're coming for more, unfortunately, critical issues, right, Dr. Roni? So I'm going to hand it over to you as to why, this is perfect timing that we're leveraging not only the For Life immune system products for her detox, but why you went that direction and why it's important now to start thinking about your immune system when it comes to your practice. Okay? Over
Thank
to you,
you,
Dr. Roni.
Jillian. Thank you, Doc. That was absolutely amazing. You should come to my retreat. So every time I try to retire or go in another direction, the universe gives me a whole new direction. And just recently, I had 4 or 5 cancer clients at my retreat. And this was kind of different for me, as you said, Jillian. I'm used to detoxification for weight loss and longevity. Now I'm doing detoxification for chronic illness. It just happened to happen like that. So I did, cancer many, many years ago as a young nurse, and now I'm starting to do a lot of it because of the epidemic that we're going through. And as you put very clearly, there is also an epidemic in autoimmune. So I specialize in detox. So the immune system is very intelligent. However, we must defend it and we must protect it. And that's what we're doing by doing detoxification. So, detox is our first defense. What does it do? First of all, it balances the immune system, it gets rid of cellular debris, it decreases inflammation. And of course, by doing all of that, you start feeling an increase in your energy. Some people can lose weight, but you don't have to. Decrease the toxic load. And when I say, I'll never forget the time I was on The View and talking about, and the doctor mentioned how sometimes you have to dummy down your language in order to get the masses to understand what you're talking about. And I became really good at that because I would go on shows like The View and Steve Harvey and Howard Stern, blah blah. Anyway, so I couldn't talk like a medical person because I would totally turn them off. So I started having fun with them. And I'll never forget the time when I said that we have to go through over 1,000 chemicals in our daily life every day. We are in touch with 1,000 chemicals, and I'm talking about not just food, because people always want to go, what are the chemicals in our food? We're talking about water, we're talking about air, we're talking about clothing. Unfortunately, we're talking about stuff we put on our hair, stuff we put on our skin. And that's overwhelming to our immune system. And so when you come to the retreat, I like to talk a lot about what we do at the retreat in order to help people to decrease the toxic load. Now I'm coming way back from like over doing this retreat for the last 30 years. So I've gone through a lot of different chronic illnesses, but it wasn't until I met For Life that I said, wow, you know what? With everything that we're doing, we got to touch the immune system in a really big way. And even though we know that detox is the body's first line of defense, we are still overwhelming our kidneys, overwhelming our liver, overwhelming our lymphatic system, overwhelming our colon. All of these organs are filters, but it gets to the point where sometimes the filter is too overwhelming because we got to take out the plastics. They're talking a lot about plastics today. We got to remove the metals. We got to remove the bacteria debris. We got to move the viruses and all of these things. On top of that, we got to look at our food and see what chemicals are in there. So in order for us to modulate our immune system, that was so well put by Doctor, we have to first say, you know what, I'm going to decrease some of the toxic load, and I'm going to give my body the best that I could give it by giving it what? By giving it antioxidants, our red drink, by giving it our immune drink, which is our yellow drink, by giving it the green formulas, which is also helping us with our minerals and helping to alkalize our system. So all of these things we do at the retreat, and then on top of that, we teach you why you need digestive enzymes, why you need the pre-probiotics, and at the end of the day, why you need the liver detox and why you need that wonderful renewal that I take every single day, because I know that 5 years ago I could run up 3 flights of stairs, but I couldn't do it this year until I started taking the renewal. So what is that? That is it helps us with, it's an adaptogen, but it also helps us to, I like to say, put the fire out, Doc. And I say these words because I want people to understand that inflammation is huge in the body. It's fire in the body, and that's what increases not just only autoimmune, but it also increases the opportunity to get cancer cells in the body. So all of these things that we go through on a daily basis, we now have to switch. We have to turn that switch over, and we have to start asking about what omega-3s do. We have to ask about what digestive enzymes and all of these things do when we're at the retreat. That's part of what I do, is education, because I can give you the tools and you can go home and you can become what I call a person that just sits back and get overwhelmed and not know what to do with it. And that's why I started doing telehealth. It wasn't until I started telehealth is when I really started changing people's lives, because I found out that even if they came to the retreat for 7 days or 21 days, they would really be really good for 3 months, and then they would go back to their old ways. And that's why education is important. And that's why I believe telehealth is an amazing opportunity to keep people on board with their health, so that they, you know what I always say? It's not an appointment, it's a lifestyle. And when you have cancer, that's not an appointment. For the rest of your life, you have to have a new lifestyle. And I'm unfortunately at the age where I've seen way too many people in their 40s and 50s with cancer. And I'm thinking about my grandmother who lived to be in her hundreds. And I'm starting to say, why don't we go back to nature? Why don't we go back and look at what they did? We're doing that by using some of the For Life supplements. We're doing that by changing your diet to a heavy diet as opposed to a chemical-based diet. We're doing that by saying, don't open up a bag, a bottle, try not to open up a can. So, and try to learn what your herbs are and put these For Life products into your life, not just doing it, but understanding the science of what it's doing to your body. It's changed my life in just 3 years. So I know Jillian only gave me so much time to talk, but I want to open it up to Jillian, and Jillian, for you to be able to ask me a few questions, because I do have to run, unfortunately, but I would love to be able to talk about whatever it is specifically that you would like for me to add to this.
That tonight on Monday evenings, again, as part of our health talks that we have inside our community. We have Dr. Ojina on Tuesdays during the day for the Eastern audience, but on Monday evening, she does Detox Diaries. So every week we have a Detox Diaries where Dr. Roni educates us on different practices when it comes to detoxing. Tonight, we're going to talk about spike protein. So if you're available to come tonight at 8 p.m., I know it's late in Kenya and Africa, but come to our call tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about that hot topic because she does treat that actually at our clinic. And we are discussing how we can support that as a potential online protocol as well. So stay tuned for that. But I just want to say thank you, Dr. Roni, for always supporting our calls. And then also tomorrow night, we do actually have a Sure Good Talks as well, which does offer some insight. But I would like to then hand it now over to Monica. But Dave, you can do a little intro on there. And Dr. Roni, thank you for your time. I know you've been busy with retreat clinics and you're in Florida today. So thank you. I'll say goodbye to you right now, and then we'll hand it over
Thank you,
to you,
Dr.
Dave,
Roni.
okay?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you guys can join in on Monday nights with Dr. Roni and Jillian and Claudia, they have a wonderful program, and there's just so much that we can learn by listening to these medical practitioners.
Yeah.
So next, we're going to hear from Dr. Monica Costa. Monica, actually, I don't know if we've actually met in person. Have we met, Monica?
Not in person, always online, Dave.
Okay, always online. I'm sure we will, though. I've been in Johannesburg a few times, where Monica's located in South Africa. And, I'm a big believer in energy and how energy flow can help us heal. I'm a big fan of kinesiology. I've got a number of friends that have studied kinesiology as well, and the importance of energy when it comes to health and the immune system. And that's Monica's specialty, is balancing energy and immunity. She's a kinesiologist, focuses on immune, hormonal, and mental balance, combining energy, kinesiology with holistic health. She's a coach as well and teaches other practitioners about 4-Life transfer factor and the importance of healing. So we're going to pass the microphone over to Monica Costa, all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa. Thank you for joining us, Monica.
Thanks so much for that introduction, Dave, and so lovely to hear from Dr. Ojina and Dr. Roni as well. So yes, I'm going to bring in more of the energy perspective and how it affects our cell function and how the transfer factors can then impact and benefit that as well. So when we're talking about energy here, we're not just talking about like our day-to-day physical energy. We also have our mental energy, we've got our emotional energy, and then we have our cell energy. Now, every single cell in our body has like an epigenetic type of software that actually needs more energy to be able to function properly or optimally. But if we aren't taking care of our physical energy, our mental energy, our emotional energy, then eventually our cell energy also starts to diminish. So once that cell energy starts to diminish, it actually impacts how the information within the cell starts to function. And this is where we start seeing health dysfunctions. So what are things that can affect our energy? We're looking at stress, fear, worries, environmental factors. I mean, Dr. Roni already mentioned so many of them, like our quality of our food, pesticides in food. So many people at the moment being affected by electromagnetic frequencies, the quality of our sleep, our lack of exercise for a lot of people, bacterial infections, viral infections. I mean, the list goes on and on of what can impact us, which then impacts our cell energy. What I find in my practice especially is that so many times when someone presents with a symptom, they tend to look within the realm of the symptom for the answer. So for example, if somebody's got back pain, then they tend to look in the physical realm for whatever caused that back pain. But our systems are so much more dynamic than that. We've got this amazing network of systems within our bodies that is so much more beyond the physical. So I want you to think of this. Just to give you a better concept of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about mental energy, emotional energy, physical energy, all impacting our cells. How many times have you had a mentally or emotionally stressful situation to deal with, and you end up with a knot in your stomach, or you end up with a headache, or a spasm in your shoulder. You know, that's just a little classic example of how your mental and your emotional energy can affect your physical body and your physical energy. And I mean, we can even reverse that and we can look at, okay, how can something physical affect my mental and emotion? Let's look at the last time you actually knocked your little toe on the side of a piece of furniture. And I mean, so many of us have done that. But what happens to your body when you knock your little toe on the piece of furniture? You don't just feel the pain in your toe. You know, most of us will get this rush up, flooded biochemical feeling in our body. And we might also then feel angry or annoyed or frustrated. And again, that just shows you how you're not just a mental, you're not just an emotional, you're not just a physical. Everything works together and everything impacts each other. So these are just silly little examples to show you how one aspect of a person cannot just be looked at. You have to look at the whole system as a whole in order to achieve real wellness. Now, if we take enough of these mental, emotional, physical, energy disturbances on a daily basis and we load them all up into the system, eventually it's going to impact our cell energy. And once our cell energy is impacted, it can then affect our organ function, it affects our immune system. And this is where we start to see more symptoms presenting. We're looking at mental health issues, hormonal issues, structural issues, autoimmune disorders, cancers. You know, there's so much that can happen to our system. But it doesn't actually matter what's happening on, like what a person presents with as a symptom. What we're looking at is, okay, but what was underlying that has caused the cell energy to become so disruptive that it's causing the symptom? And this is where we see that the cells almost like lose their innate immune intelligence, and we need to be able to support them, and transfer factors helps to do this. So with the way I work with the biofeedback muscle testing, it's a lot easier for me to identify what's happening as the root cause for a person on all levels. But once I combine this with the intelligent immune molecules of transfer factors, I started to see in my practice that I was getting so much better results. So for many, many years, I've worked with different types of therapy, not just the kinesiology, I've done the naturopathy, some Chinese medicine. But what drew me to transfer factors was in 2019, I had a patient with severe autoimmune disease, and she had pretty much been given a death sentence by the medical field, and so she reached out to me for help. I mean, she was only 26 at the time. So with what I already had in my practice, we were having some good success in improving her well-being, but it was a bit slow, and we almost felt like we had hit a plateau and we weren't getting past that. So I knew I needed to find something else. So I started doing research because I love doing my research, and when I find something, I love to understand it before bringing it into my practice. And this is where I got introduced to 4Life and the transfer factors. And after much research, and I also use myself as a guinea pig in my practice before I bring anything in, and I started seeing the change in my body with using the transfer factors, I knew that this patient would benefit from it. So we started adding the transfer factors into the treatment protocol. The difference was remarkable. It enhanced and speed up everything we were trying to achieve with her. And now 6 years later, she's completely symptom-free. And she's had 3 children, and she was told that she would never be able to have children. Now, I have many, many stories like this because once I started using the transfer factors in my practice, I came to realize that as much as all the healing modalities I work with really change so many people's lives, adding the trans factors into the equation of the treatment protocols has helped me to help them achieve an even better state of health, and much faster too. But I always say to people, never forget, it isn't just about the physical being. You know, you have to look at a mental and emotional as well, because we're such dynamic human beings. All our systems work together and they impact each other. But the beautiful thing about transfer factors is that we now have a way to give back to the body what Mother Nature provides through us naturally through the transfer factors, to give it back the immune intelligence, to give it back the cell energy so that it can work properly again, because these transfer factors help to re-regulate our cells to work how they were designed to work. When we do that, it means that people achieve a better, healthier state, and much faster too. So when energy flows, is restored in the body, on all levels, mental, emotional, physical. And then we can support it even further by adding the transfer factors in. That's when you're looking at really enhancing a person's ability to heal and regenerate themselves better. And that's all I have to say. I'll hand it back to you, Julian and Dave. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Monica. You know, today's been quite interesting because we've heard from three wonderful practitioners that come from different angles when you think about it. Dr. Ojina, being a medical doctor, coming from, talking about immunotherapy and explaining a little bit about how the immune system works, the various cells that we have, the defenses that we have, and the importance of protecting that immune system. And then Dr. Roni talking about the importance of detox. That's her specialty, and which is very important. In fact, I actually do a 3-day water cleanse a couple times a year. Just I go 3 days, no food, just have water. I'm a big believer in detox and just keeping our bodies as clean as possible. And then Monica coming from the area of energy. And I've always said that, immune knowledge is very important. Obviously, you have to identify a threat in order to take action and respond to that threat. But at the same time, you need the necessary energy, cellular energy, to be able to, for your immune system to do its job and eliminate that threat. So coming from the energy position, Dr. Monica Costa talking about that, it's very, very important. And there is this mental side that's so important, the emotional side. And so, thank you so much, Monica, for sharing that with us. And it's been just a wealth of information today. We've got a few minutes left, and so what I'd like to do is just open it up for any questions. If anybody has any questions, Jillian, I'll pass it to you, and you can kind of open up the mics for anybody. I see there is a question regarding a vaccine flu shot.
Well,
I don't know if anybody saw that, but go ahead, Jillian.
Okay, on that note, so we are going to go through an interactive Q&A. We have about 10 minutes, but I'm going to stop the live stream right now for privacy. So, but we have an opportunity to talk to Dr. Ojina, ask Monica some questions. I really am fascinated by what you do, and I want to be able to discuss where people can go right now to get more support on what we're doing. So you want to make sure if you're watching the live right now, we do have a community that shares testimonials, shares some stories, and shares some highlights called Good Health Stories and Solutions. We'll make sure that gets shared on the live, but also in the socials. That's where we do share some testimonials and some suggested protocols and information that people might be wanting to hear. And that's where we're going to share this this recording, and these slides will actually be shared inside there, but also inside our Upline Pro Inner Circle. So please make sure you're following uplinepro.com for the live out there. But we are going to be stopping the live stream right now, and we will be recording this later down the road. But the questions are going to be behind the firewall. So if you're out there right now, join the Zoom. You're not going to be able to ask the questions on the live. I'll give you a few minutes, and then I'm going to stop the live right now. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to our guest speakers. But we will be staying on for the live. Okay, so I'm just going to let you know that and I'm also going to keep the recording going, but the live stream should have stopped. Let me double check. All right. And it has, just want to make sure it's stopping. So yes, it stops. Thank you. The live is now stopped, so we can actually now go and ask the questions. So inside the chat, Claudia, were you able to monitor the chat for me? Unfortunately, I've been, I just want to make sure that we're answering all the questions that's out there. Claudia, are you there, or is J. Michael there? Maybe you can help me.
Hi, Jillian. Yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks very much. Dave mentioned there was one question from Jocelyn about the flu shot, and that I think that is for any doctor. I think Dr. Ojina, and I can tell you, I'm 74 years old, and I've never had a flu shot in my life. But that's me. I think everybody is individual, and you have to talk to your doctors. And but anyway, that's the one question that I see in the chat, and the only question in the chat. And then I have a question for the doctors. I'm curious from a sales perspective, what is the the top 1, 2 products in Africa that you think are, or not think, but know, because you guys are in your offices there, is selling, and what other products should we focus on if we're trying to help the continent of Africa? I think Africa is a huge, huge market for our products, and either from Johannesburg office or from the Nairobi office. Anyway, that was my question, and I'm going to talk about the flu shot. Maybe Dr. Ojina, you could talk about the flu shot.
Yeah, I need to make something clear. Flu shot does not necessarily mean, flu doesn't necessarily mean you have an immune problem, but consistency in flu infection might also mean that your immune system has gone down. And it's not something I personally do recommend. I think probably your doctor could have recommended it based on your medical history, and probably you are a risk, okay, to respiratory infections. In such a situation, if you are a risk, we look at the side effects of the flu shot versus the risk, then we think the flu shot may be good for you. Otherwise, if you do not have underlying medical conditions that predispose you to various infections, including the flu, there will be no need to take the flu shot.
You know, I want to just say this real quick. I'll just say, unfortunately, here in the United States, and I think the only other country in the world that actually advertises on television drugs is New Zealand. But you see every day on television advertisements. Did you get your flu shot? You even walk into the drugstore and there'll be a sign, did you get your flu shot? It's like they hand it out like candy, you know? And so I think, unfortunately, people don't really talk to their practitioner about the pros and cons of doing that. I've never had one personally. My family really hasn't been vaccinated for much of anything. They just let their immune system do the job. And they've been taking transfer factor their whole life. But nevertheless, that's how it is here in the US. They hand out these shots like candy.
Okay. Any other, I do see actually in the chat a question from Melissa about a mother who is battling morning sickness. I remember going through this, and she said, and can't keep down fluids, getting a bit dehydrated. What can help with the nausea? Who can answer that question, Dr. Ojina or Monica? Like, what could help her?
So I work quite a lot with, or I have worked quite a lot with pregnant and breastfeeding moms. And Rio Vita sticks is definitely the go-to here. And what I actually get them to do is add a few transfer the trifactor formula to it. Not keeping the fluids down, it's about watching how you actually drink it. So like, don't gulp it down. But I found once you start giving them the Rio Vita sticks and they just sip it slowly, like a little sip every 5 to 10 minutes, they start to be able to keep it down. And they get the hydration, they're getting the transfer factors, which also helps to regulate whatever's causing the morning sickness. Great for the mother's immune system because it makes their system stronger, which then makes the baby stronger. And then even later on, after giving birth, amazing for breast milk production as well. So I would definitely go trifactor formula and Rio Vita sticks on this one.
I have a comment on that, Monica, too, because with both of my pregnancies, I had hyperemesis gravidarum, which was basically an extreme version of morning sickness. So I had to go and have IV hydration because I lost 40 pounds in my first 2 trimesters with both of them. So you never know, there may be some other underlying conditions as to why she's extremely nauseous. So it's just something that they would probably have to check. I did not know that. I just thought it was just me. But then I found out later on that I actually had my body was rejecting my children internally. So, and that was how it was doing it. So anyway, it was just something that I went through, Melissa. So you never know what they might be dealing with, right?
Yeah, and also it is an IVF situation. So, you know, that could be something too.
Yes. We have them check with their practitioner. Like with anything that we do, we always we have a disclaimer. Make sure you check with your doctor or medical professional first, because you never know what the underlying condition might be. But I just I'm just trying to see if any other questions out there, J. Michael. Did I miss anything?
We have a question from Krista.
Okay.
Can one overtake these products? I would assume that she means by taking too much. Often I test myself and it appears my body doesn't require my supplements. She put correct. So yeah, taking too many. I mean, I guess you can take too much of just about anything. You have too much chocolate, it's not good for you. When it comes to transfer factor, I will say this. Dr. Ojina mentioned one of the studies, which was a study on toxicity. I remember that study many years ago, done right here in California, by the way, at UC Irvine by Juness Laboratories. And they actually did over 1,000 times the dosage, zero toxicity, zero. So there is no toxicity with transfer factors. So you can't really take too much. It can become an economic, issue if you're taking just, a bottle a day, is unnecessary. But I will say that there really is no, overdose that you can take of transfer factors. But with that, I'll pass the microphone to whether it's Dr. Ojina or Monica in South Africa.
There's a study conducted in I forgot the year, but it was done on mice, and they would give 2,000 milligrams per kilogram of body weight of the mouse, and to test for toxicity, overdose, and effects of having too much of the transfer factor in the body. And after a span of 9 months, they found none. So I could share the study with anybody who wants to check that out. So there would be no effect. I think probably what would be happening, you'd be wasting the product. You'd be wasting it, yes. Because generally speaking, just roughly 600 milligrams per day would do virtually almost anything that is therapeutic and even prophylactic.
Monica?
I totally agree with Dr. Gina. At some point, your body can only use so much of it, and then it's what I call expensive pee. Your body's eventually just going to get rid of what it can't use right now. So even when you're taking it, like try space it out, because your body is only, even energetically, the more you pump into your body, it can only process so much at a time. So then it's going to reach its limit within a certain amount of hours, and it's just going to detox the rest of it. So yes, you can take increased dosages, but also be sensible about it. Don't like super overload, because your system will just then eventually get you to pee it out.
Yeah, you mentioned taking it intermittently throughout the day. I did learn from a lot of the other doctors I've worked with over the years that you're better off spreading out rather than taking like one big dosage in the morning. Spread it out throughout the day. Take 2, 3, or even 4 times a day. When I travel, my body's under a lot more stress, and so I'll usually. Dr. Ojina mentioned 600 milligrams. I'll take a minimum of 1,000 milligrams. I'll take an immune boost every day. And then when I combine it with some of the other products I'm taking, such as Age Pro, Rio Vita, Mel Pro, some of those other products, I'll get an additional boost of 100 milligrams of transfer factor. But again, I spread it out throughout the day. Melissa.
Yes. What about in cases where people have a very bad illness, like, stage 4, whatever, and do they then need more, like a lot more of the factors?
I can just tell you what I've learned in listening to doctors, my 27 years with For Life, is that once you get up past 4 times the dosage on the bottle, at that point, like Monica just mentioned, you end up pretty much just, it passes through your body. You can only, what's the word I'm looking, process, I guess, so much transfer factor intake, at one time. Okay. So, kind of, and there's really that I know of, I don't know of any study that actually shows where that exact point is. But in talking to the doctors, I've been told that once you go beyond 4 times the dosage, because I hear people say take 10 times, 20 times. Personally, I think you're wasting money when you're doing that. I think 4 times is kind of pretty much the limit.
Okay,
Okay.
good to know.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so on that note, then we are ending the call for today. I want to say thank you to Dr. Ojina, Monica. It's really lovely to hear you. I learned a lot from you today. And I know Dr. Roni's gone, but we want to say thank you to her. Remember to go to uplinePro.com/calendar to see all of the events that we have. We have a lot of training events, not in English, but there's a lot in other languages as well. But I know Dr. Gina does his calls on Tuesdays. Monica, I'd love to see you show up more on some of these calls and get involved. I'm very much into kinesiology and energy healing and body mapping, and I really would love you to share a little bit more. I invite you to come back to another call with us, and also. Just another note, we are going to be doing these monthly, and the next thing is that we're going to do next month is live streaming on LinkedIn. So please follow Dave Daughtrey on LinkedIn, follow Dr. Ojina on LinkedIn, follow myself on LinkedIn, Jillian Murray and Jay Michael. Let's get a presence on the LinkedIn platform, because that's where we can invite a lot more naturopaths and a lot more practitioners to our calls. Because in a lot of cases, they're not even aware of what is out there to help them with their clients. So we can spread the word globally. I want to thank you again for your time and efforts today. And let's just keep sharing. It's all about that, right, Dave? And if you have any suggestions, on a topic for next month that's really, really prevalent to what we do, please email them to me at jillian@feelgoodsuregood.com. I'd love to be able to get some insight and give me a little bit more insight and time to do these presentations and create the slides. And if you have feedback for us and how we can get this better, let us know. Feedback is a gift. Right,
next month, I'm going to reach out to
a
few other doctors as well that are part of our 4Life family. In fact, Monica, I'm sure knows one of them because she's part of Monica's upline and my downline. Dr. Angeles Munoz, who is a cardiologist, and her husband's an immunologist, and they're from Spain. And another one's Dr. Angel Sanchez. He's I want to say, a heart specialist. And so I'll see if we can get them with us for next month. But we have, have plenty of people we can reach out to that are part of our 4Life family that are also been in the medical field. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Monica Costa from South Africa, thank you. Dr. Robert Ojina from Nairobi, Kenya, and Dr. Roni DeLuz from Martha's Vineyard. So thanks, everyone. We love you guys.
Thank
and
you.
invite. Let's get more people to join us next Monday, next Mentor Monday. We'll see y'all real soon.
Thank
you,
you so
Jillian.
Thank you,
much.
everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.